as you went from Cresco to being like an events person, right? You're an expert on that. You've done it a million times. You know just how to do it well, to then leading marketing. It feels like a big step up, a big like call to or an invitation for you to expand. Like, did you experience like doubt as you evaluated that opportunity, or what was it like to go from events to overall leading marketing?
Yeah, it was, I'm not going to lie, it was something I knew that I wanted to do, but I was quite terrified. I kept coming back to the fact that, the worse your adversity or the harder something feels, the greater the opportunity. And I was just very much in a growth phase. I knew this team felt aligned and I wanted to always step up. And, ultimately you have to realize that if, I had a goal of being more remote and not being so physically drained being at events all the time. And I knew I love events and I always will, but that was a big driver for me learning new skills. Because if I stuck with just events, I was always going to be out in the field. I was always going to be at a site visit. I was always going to be leaving my house. And with the chronic pain I was feeling at the time, I really needed to be home and I needed to stretch and I needed to lay on the floor, to be totally honest with you. I would take some calls
Which you
from the
can't
floor.
always do in a convention center, unfortunately, or a hotel ballroom. Yeah.
Yeah, and you certainly can find a spot, but you're not going to be able to really relax. And right. So it was about putting my physical and my mental health first. And so I kind of created this, I filled a lot of the gaps. Once I took the job, I had about 3 months to prepare. Maybe it was more like 2 months, actually. At any rate, I identified the gaps that I would need to fill, and I started creating YouTube university of sorts for myself. I followed a bunch of different creators and I would make different playlists. One of them was all about SEO. One of them was all about WordPress and website development. I literally run every part of the marketing ecosystem here at Seed Talent. The only parts I started out feeling confident in were social media and events. And luckily, events was our big strategy when I first got into it. But I had all these other things. And the biggest one that I really needed to learn about was product marketing. We are a SaaS company and I had never worked in software before. But, I am very technologically savvy. So it felt really cool to be able to pick up on these tech and product releases and work with our IT team and work with the people, the developers and the engineers who are historically some of the nicest people you'll ever meet in business. I love developers. Software engineers are just some of the kindest folks in the world, and I can learn so much from them. So just being able to familiarize myself with the platforms we use, from Jira and Atlassian all the way to Trello and the project management systems. I use YouTube for everything. I took courses on, funny enough, Coursera, which is another wonderful free online learning tool with coursework from Harvard professors, University of London. I actually took a branding course with the University of London while I was in this transitional period. So I was doing everything I could to self-teach, and I would block my schedule every day for 4 hours to learn something new, take notes. And then eventually I built out a marketing plan, a 30, 60, 90 when I kicked off, that helped me transition into the first 90 days of the business and really set us up for success. Were there surprises that came up? Yes. Did everything get derailed? Yes. But ultimately, I had the plan and the preparation, and I believed in myself that, okay, if I could learn and implement these things, then, I've done it before and I'll do it again kind of mentality.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that quote that you mentioned about like getting your mind wrapped around things and then believing that you can do it, right? It feels like such a mantra for you, like throughout your whole career.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And it's cool to look back. And that's why I'm such a heavy believer in celebrating your wins, tracking your wins. I have a calendar reminder every Friday. I'm a big calendar blocker too. That was a huge thing because time is only as good as your structure. So I would block every Friday to look back and celebrate one win. And I think that's where LinkedIn actually really helped me shine too, was because so much of it was showcasing the work I'd done. And then I'd be like, oh, dang, I did that. That was actually a huge endeavor. So when you're in it, you don't really see the long tail impact until you're like, oh yeah, we closed hundreds of thousands of deals, hundreds of thousands of dollars in deals from the event that I put together. That is cool. So to be able to really measure that and look back and reflect was a big driver of my motivation during that hard transition. Because if you don't just stop and say, okay, I'm doing it. I was here and now I'm here, because progress is not this, it's this. It's the spiral, and you're going to go back and you're going to doubt yourself, but then that's just one more hurdle you've overcome. Right. So, I just kind of had to give up the cycle of disappointment and give up the facade of perfectionism and just kind of give up in the best sense of the term. Give up what you think you know about yourself and what you think you know about business, and stay true to consistency.
How would you name this way that you go about? It's mindset work, it's positive self-talk. There's a lot of things wrapped up in it. And I'm just curious, how you think about it, because I've heard that all throughout your story of you know how to get yourself ready for an opportunity or affirm yourself. What do you call it?
I refer to it as thought work, typically. I think a lot of this is metacognition. And when you are a trauma survivor, we are blessed with this superpower of thinking about your thinking. You have to, because if you stay in that negative mindset of this defines me, you're going to stay in that spot in life. So, when I realized that I had the power to transform my thoughts, for example, someone cuts you off in traffic. Okay, you can honk and road rage and be super pissed off, or you can say, oh my God, maybe they're rushing to their daughter who is in trouble. Reframing your thoughts, I think between affirmations and thought work, really getting that, I jokingly refer to it as brainwashing yourself, but you do. Your brain, it's neuroplasticity. You can believe anything you want to believe. And in this world today, especially, it's the delusional people who are successful because they don't let the noise get in.